And now we are moving to the next panel, which is another very thought-provoking panel that we have. Will AI leave persons with disabilities behind? I'm sorry to say I shamelessly depend on AI. I mean, I just cannot do without ChatGPT. Really, it has helped me a lot professionally as a writer. It's how you use it. And for people like us, technology has been a godsend. Today, I'm here with you. I can talk to you because of the closed captioning, because I'm using my phone device for the closed captioning, and I have something in front of me, the screen, which is reading everything out. It's speech to text, and it's amazing. So I wonder where I would have been if all this technology was available to me at least 10 years back. So my journey up the ladder in corporate world wouldn't have stopped here. Maybe I would have been taken further up. Maybe I would have been made a CEO of the company. I missed that bus because when I told them that I am a person with multiple disabilities, they took a back seat. So that's the reality of employment and inclusion for people with disabilities. So I am going to invite our panelists, our next panel. First of all, may I invite Arun Mehta to the stage to steer this vital discussion. He's a technologist, innovator, and accessibility pioneer at BAPSI Software. Professor Mehta is a pioneering technologist, and he has shaped how technology can empower communication, dignity, and inclusion. Please join me in welcoming Professor Mehta to the stage. Our next panelist is Ishani Agnihotri. Ishani has been closely working towards furthering India's AI goals and the larger AI for social good agenda. Previously as a University of Chicago Trust Fellow, and now as a Vadvani AI resource. Her work is dedicated towards making AI safe, inclusive, and accessible for all through policy interventions and application development. Ishani, request you to please join the panel. Please give her a big hand. Also joining the panel is Dipendra Manocha, a global leader in accessible information and technology for persons with visual and print disabilities. He serves as developing countries coordinator and lead for training and technical support at the DAISY Consortium and is a member of the executive committee of the World Blind Union. He is also managing trustee of Saksham Trust and president of the DAISY Forum of India. His work has enabled digital libraries, Indian language screen reading tools, accessible university resource centers, and audio description services. He is also an Ashoka Fellow and a recipient of Government of India National Award and the Lakshmipat Singhania IIM Lucknow National Leadership Award. Please give a big round of applause to him. Our next panelist is Mr. David Bain, founder of the Equitable AI Alliance. He has spent more than 3.5 decades at the forefront of assistive technology, bridging innovation and accessibility and global inclusion. He is the director of David Bain Access and Inclusion Services and co-founder of Global Symbols, and has led major assistive technology services across Europe and the Middle East, including his tenure as CEO of MADA, Qatar's Center for Assistive Technology. He is also a prolific author and thought leader. Please welcome Mr. Bain and give him a round of applause. We also have Jorgen Menz, I hope I pronounced it correctly, our next panelist. And he represents one of the world's most respected institutions shaping inclusive employment policy, the International Labour Organization, the UN Specialized Agency for the World of Work. As a disability inclusion specialist in the ILO's Gender, Equality, Diversity and Inclusion branch, he leads the ILO Global Business Disability Network, a unique platform that brings together over 40 multinational enterprises and 40 national networks to advance disability inclusion in workplaces. Please welcome all the panelists and give them a big hand. I'm also requesting you all to please, very humbly, I'm asking this, stick to the timeline. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. AI is a subject that we've all read and heard plenty of over the last couple of years. So, and our panelists will, of course, tell us a whole lot. But let me just start by asking, how many of you agree with the statement that AI will leave persons with disability behind? How many believe that? Could you raise your hands, please? Nobody on the panel, I see. Okay. How many believe that AI is a boon for persons with disabilities? There we have a lot more hands. Thank you so much. It's good to see optimism. Now we are short of time, and we have a lot, not just from the panelists, but I would like very much if we have a couple of minutes at the end that we take questions. So David wanted to go first. So please, if you would.
I'll just use the...
There are blind people in the audience, so a presentation is not such a great idea.
Well, yes, but you can also say there are people with learning difficulties where presentations are a very good idea.
Fair enough.
So actually both are important. Framing the question, I want to set some context upon which my colleagues' input will be important. Will AI leave persons with disabilities behind? When I saw the question, I asked myself a very simple thing. Are we asking the right question? I know that some people put their hands up for both sides, and actually the reason I didn't put my hand up is because both are true. Are we asking the right question? I was reminded of a question, of a response. A friend of mine used to say, for every complicated question, there is a simple answer. It's usually wrong. That is also true of a simple question. The simple question actually has incredibly complicated answers. If we don't understand the complexity of that answer, we're going to have a significant problem influencing the development of AI in the future. So what I want to talk about is to put some context into that question. The first thing we have is that people with disabilities are not a single group. So when we talk about will it leave disabled people behind, we have to remember that the disability community is a very diverse group. And that will lead to diverse impacts of artificial intelligence. It has been said that we are living through the fourth industrial revolution: mechanical, electrical, digital, artificial intelligence. Every previous industrial revolution has brought benefits and costs to all communities, including those with disabilities. Our second point is, when we talk about will AI leave people behind, AI is implemented in every possible situation and has been for many years. Your captions on YouTube are AI generated. For that matter, your selection of movies on Netflix is AI generated. Again, the setting we're discussing when we talk about AI being implemented has an effect on impact. It will have an effect in employment. It will have an effect in education. It does have an effect in independent living and daily life. So we already now have two dimensions in response to our original question. How many people understand AI? How many people know the difference between causal AI, predictive AI, agentic AI, and generative AI? One. I'm going to be honest, I didn't put my hand up. AI is also complex. It is not a single technology. So when we talk... Oh, where did the slides go? Thank you. That was scary. So when we talk about AI, it's understand that there's causal AI. Causal AI waits for something to happen and gives a response. It uses sensors, it gives data from sensors. Predictive AI predicts what you want from that data that's being submitted. Agentic AI is semi-autonomous. It makes decisions. Generative AI seeks to create something new and different from an initial stimulus. The one that we should be concerned about is agentic AI, the one that is taking decisions on our behalf. And for people with disabilities, that is probably the greatest risk of all those different AIs, because AI is being used in so many different ways. Some things are immensely positive, and I think you talked about ChatGPT. It is enhancing and expanding assistive technologies. Many of the innovations that we will see are already harnessing AI to give greater access. It's extremely good at answering our questions and augmenting creation. I'm not saying it's 100% accurate, but it does something that no other technology can do. But it is that final group where it's making decisions about our access to education, our access to employment, job opportunities. Now we have an issue in terms of the risks and balances of artificial intelligence. So what do we need to ask? We need to ask ourselves, how are different people with disabilities experiencing AI? What do we believe has been the impact? Where we see it as positive, what has contributed to the benefits, and what contributed to bias and discrimination. There will always be bias. Every artificial intelligence has integrated bias. That does not always mean it leads to discrimination, but if it does, we need to recognize it. Key factors for us to determine from that: was the AI accessible to the user? Was a range of needs included in the data, including those of people with disabilities? Was the chain of thought, the questioning process that was applied, what was the chain of thought that was employed to think about the information? Did we recognize bias in the data, and how was it addressed? So our question becomes, who is being excluded and discriminated against because of AI? How do we recognize that?
David, your time is up.
No, I'm done. I'm nearly done. 1 second. What is making this happen, and how do we address it? At the Equitable AI Alliance, we want to try and answer those questions. Myself and Anya are available to you to follow on from today and throughout the conference. Thank you.
Ishani, would you go next, please?
While they do the technological settings here, just to give a brief context about where my input is coming from. I come from a technological company. We build AI solutions, and I work very closely with some of the policymakers in the country in terms of forwarding the global idea of making AI inclusive for all. I've also had the opportunity to work very closely with some of the learning disability assistive solutions in AI, and that's where my whole input today is stemming from. When I was looking at some of the numbers, the market numbers in terms of how AI in assistive technology market is projected to be growing in the next decade, there's some very interesting figures that came up. And to draw comparisons, I found a similar niche zone to say. So as you can see on the slide, the AI in banking, financial services, and insurance sector market is currently valued at approximately $26 billion. And in the next 10 years, that is projected to grow up to $200 billion approximately. That's a compounded growth of 22%. And now when we look at the AI in assistive technology market, which is currently at a similar value of $28 billion, that is projected to grow up to $65 billion only. That's a growth of approximately 10% in the next decade when AI is spearheading all sectors. Now, to put some context here, why these, if you go to the previous slide, sir. To put some context in terms of how these numbers are reflective of what the market is demanding at this point, WHO reports that there are 1.3 billion people with significant disabilities. Now, these are the diagnosed, are the reported ones. It is safe to presume that there are millions undiagnosed and unrecorded people with varying forms of learning disability, physical disabilities. And that number, 1.3 billion in itself, is close to what India's current total population is. So that's a huge market size for companies to think about, for investors to think about in terms of why AI solutions are not having a similar projected growth in assistive technologies. So it makes us wonder if, AI as a technology has limitations in terms of what it can do or what cannot for persons with of diverse spectrum. So moving to the next slide. I digged up some very popular AI solutions which have been in market for a long time. This is one smart vision glasses which is made in India. It was made in partnership with the Vision Aid India organization and a number of eye hospitals in the country. It does everything that a person with visual impairment will be looking for in terms of language support, facial recognition, identifying your family members, walking on the street, currency detection. And this device is absolutely affordable in comparison to your Meta Ray-Ban glasses, for example. And you'll be surprised to know this product was launched in 2023. So this has been almost 2 years of the launch of this product. They have come with advanced versions of this product. But in terms of adoption of this simple device, it has been very limited to, say, 1,000 or 800 numbers that I saw on their website. And this is in contrast to the millions of visually impaired people we have in the country. Next slide, please. So, pondering on the questions which panel members here and the previous panel also mentioned, that we have around 55% literate persons with disability and only 5% who graduate. Similarly, what ma'am mentioned over here, that persons with disability are not a disadvantaged group that need reservation or so. They need to be looked up as a section of population which has to be enabled. And we have a plethora of AI use cases now. For example, the screen reader, the live text-to-speech translation, the AI-powered exoskeleton, robotic walkers, and there are so many solutions which are enabling diagnosis of learning disabilities in far-fetched geographical or social regions of the country. So if AI can do all of this, if the technology has the power, the question lies at what is the challenge? Why is it not translating into market numbers and real-life usage? Next slide. So this is a very simple, basic economic model that we are all aware of. Any innovation to reach its commercial scale needs a large-scale market to sell. And market sentiments fuel investor sentiments, and investor put in more money for further innovation and scaling. Now, in terms of the market, which caters to the persons with varying disability, we do have a huge number. We have a global population of up to 2 billion people. That is counting on a safe side. So why is the gap there? If we have a market, we have the paying capacity, where is the gap? And I'll just quickly summarize, sir. So the gap comes in the form of the lack of cohesiveness in the community, the lack of policies which are supporting procurement, supporting R&D, supporting certifications. Next slide. I'll just quickly conclude here. Coming from a technological background, I have seen researchers, I've seen academicians within country, outside as well, who are very keen to pick up these use cases. But it's not the sole responsibilities of the startups or the entrepreneurs. It's a collective responsibility of the governments to frame those supportive policies to enable mass procurement, how we do for agricultural products or how we do for health or TB aid programs. It is the role of investors to identify accessible labor market solutions to enhance what we right now have a reservation for hiring. That should actually be an enabling process where we have quality applicants from the spectrum, and also the role of community. The community needs to be organized and engaged, come forward as users for validating and testing these solutions for large-scale deployment. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks a lot. I had the pleasure of and privilege of presenting myself earlier. So I coordinate the Global Business and Disability Network. And in this network, we have also tech companies, but we have also other companies. And what we wanted to do is showcasing how AI can be positive and negative when it comes to the employment of persons with disabilities. I had prepared a few slides. I will not talk too much about the positive angle. Some of these things have already been said. But when we break it down to employment, I think it was very helpful, David, what you said, the distinction of the different AI types, no? And this, what is called agentic type of AI is, I think, more what we were looking at in the Global Business and Disability Network. But still, maybe on the second slide after this one just shown, on the benefits, just next slide, please. So one of the additional benefits that AI can bring to the labor market for individuals with disabilities, when we really focus on skills and certificates rather than having the human bias there. When for example you got to the interview stage and you come in with a wheelchair and the interviewer is just like puzzled and forgets about all the the PhD or masters and language skills you have. So that potentially has a positive effect on the labor market. But let me also focus more on the risks, because the question is really, do the benefits outweigh the risks, or the risks the benefits? And David, I think I really appreciate what how you framed the conversation here in this panel, because there are no easy answers, and if there are, they're wrong. And we try to at least make business leaders more aware about what AI can and cannot do. And thanks also, David, again, sorry, but he provided input into a policy brief from which I basically repeat some of the key messages here. Also, Susan Scott Parker, who is not here today, but also a leader in the field of disability AI employment. So when we look at the risks on the next slide, what we know, of course, also generally, that the data AI uses is past data. No, it's data that is already there, and how can that data be empowering? And we look at the labor market statistics. We know that persons with disabilities are underrepresented there, because discrimination also exists in the labor market. So how can AI actually be helpful when it makes decisions, agentic AI, on past experiences, so to say? A very concrete tool example, also AI video tools that companies might consider for interviewing candidates. And if you don't comply with the norm, whatever that norm might be, if you stutter, if you can't keep eye contact, because for whatever reasons, you might be neurodivergent, you have a facial paralysis, or you don't smile because you're physically not able to smile, the AI thinks you're not trustworthy, you can be not a good fit for our company, right? Then, of course, a black box problem. We don't even know how AI discriminates. I mean, you said bias is there. Does it lead to discrimination? We ran this policy brief in the Global Business and Disability Network through our research department in the ILO. And I was challenged all the time, but where's the evidence? Where's the evidence? What kind of sources do you have for this? And no, I can't give you this, but we need to alert you to the potential risks. In the ILO, but for the research department, more importantly, the business community. You can't just buy an AI tool from the shelf and assuming this will fix everything. And just interestingly, I was not involved in that, but there's a new ILO working paper, not on disability specifically, but AI and human resources technology. A very interesting piece, 25 pages. One of the key messages is AI is not able to deal with the messy business of human resources. Because I don't know who works in human resources. You will be telling me, yes, it's a very messy business. So okay, I am running out of time. So the most important part of this policy brief, I'm holding it up here for those who might be able to see it. Obviously available on the website of the Global Business and Disability Network. The recommendations we give to companies, mainstream companies, right? Our focal points are usually accessibility or DEI professionals. But look, we need to inform them and educate them. Look, don't rely on AI. AI decisions are probably flawed. You have to have human supervision, and the decisions have to be taken not by AI. Then when you think about procuring AI tools, check that the vendor is actually a responsible one, ethical one, is aware of disability issues, because of course there's also legal risk, right? I mean, if you use AI tools and you're not sure that it does not discriminate against job seekers and employees with disabilities, you could get into a massive legal problem, and that might cost you whatever, millions, billions of whatever currency. Then another recommendation, when you work, in a diversity, equity, inclusion context, whatever in the company, make AI a topic, Make sure that AI is a topic when you talk about inclusion, about anything related to the company, really. Train the managers, make sure that also the employees with disabilities or the job seekers with disabilities get the AI literacy they need to understand what is what works for me and what is potentially a risk. And then, of course, a general recommendation: learn from others who are already working in the field. I think we also, in the policy brief, we say reach out to the Equitable AI Alliance. And I think it was only because, I mean, we worked in the network since 2019 on AI, but I think only earlier this year, when the Equitable AI Alliance hosted a disability-specific event in a global AI conference, and it was the only event that spoke on disability. In that, I mean, that session was the only one talking about disability in a massive conference. It shows it's not a mainstream topic. It's not a main. We need to push disability in AI discussions. But in that session, I realized, no, we need to put out something writing. It's only 4 pages, and hopefully it helps strengthening its narrative that disability, AI are very interlinked topics with a lot of risk, we believe, and a few benefits. Thank you.
Pass the mic to Vipin.
Thank you. So to start with, Arunji, my answer to both your questions is yes. How is it an enabler? I'll just keep giving few examples. First thing, the very basic technology that a blind person needs to be included in today's society is a screen reading software, which enables me to use my smartphone and a computer. It's like a bread and butter for most of us. And this screen reading software, only because of AI today, we were able to introduce something called an add-on for NVDA called Here to Read, which enables me to use this NVDA in at least 13 or 14 Indian languages. It was not possible when before AI came in. We were not able to do that in Indian languages. Similarly, I work very closely in DAISY Consortium for making books and publications and information accessible. We convert a lot of books into accessible format. We provide capacity building. We have done that capacity building in almost 50 countries in past 10 years. AI tools, we are experimenting with them right now and the impact is that if I took the time it takes to convert an inaccessible PDF into an accessible EPUB for me, it has cut down the whole time to almost 30%. So it's a huge cost saving. It makes it easier for people to work on it, and that's, I'm talking of today. Who knows, after 1 month or 2 months it may further cut down. So huge benefits are coming through. Very surprised, very good things happening for at least for languages which were completely neglected earlier. We were not able to get solutions in very large population. We were not able to give these solutions to them. It's going to leave us behind, and there are 2, 3, 4 reasons for it why I say yes to it. First one is that it's actually increasing the gap between haves and have-nots. People who have, they get access to AI. People who fall into have-nots do not even have access to the basic written communication with the rest of the world. This increases that gap to a very, very large extent. I have met people who are in rural areas, who are going to schools. The gap of knowledge and skills between them and their brothers and sisters have increased at least 7 to 8 times, actually. And this AI, in terms of employability and employment opportunities, is going to increase that gap further. That's the biggest fear, and that's what we need to actually address very, very urgently. What is required is that we got the capability to have written communication with the rest of the world. Most of the jobs, for example, in the government, which are reserved for persons with blindness, assume that we will have that written communication with the rest of the world. They have been identified using this. Unfortunately, our education system has not moved forward. We still, most of the education system is still living in previous century, and STEM education is stopped after primary. Written communication with the rest of the world, the tools which are required to be given to them are not being given. The employability training that we were listening to seems sometimes very absurd to me, because we try to teach them to read and write after they have completed their education. So it's a very problematic area. Second part is that AI tools that we introduce sometimes look very attractive. They are being things are being assumed on it more than what they actually are doing. For example, I mean, I'm sorry for being a little bit undiplomatic here, but we talked about smart glasses. So I'll just give you a small example. I have smart glasses sitting right in my pocket here. I also have a smartphone sitting in my pocket here. What do I use? I use my smartphone every day. I use my computer 10 hours in a day. How many times have I used a smart glass? Just for 2 minutes, twice in past 1 month. That's the ratio, because it doesn't solve most of the problems that I face in my daily life. So instead of spending those 35,000 rupees in providing that basic technology, we tend to get attracted to provide a fancier device like a smart glasses to persons who have not even learned to have written communication with the rest of the world. So that's a danger that we need to be aware of, that of AI, that let's address that. Let AI not increase the gap, but let's focus on where is AI filling up that gap for us. Thank you.
Thank you. I write free software for persons with multiple disabilities. I work with individuals. This is not universal software. This is very, very personal software. For me, AI is a tool that I can use to solve some problems. Now, AI as such, as far as I am concerned, everything pretty much that a computer does is artificial intelligence. So what we are now talking about, or at least what I will be talking about, is large language models. That is a particular tool that is basically a bit of maths. You put some text in and some text comes out. And there are problems that you can solve with it, and that is what I am keen to work on and talk about. Now, one of the very good things about large language models with regard to persons with disabilities is that this is a text-based system. Text goes in, text comes out. Text is, of course, far more accessible than any other form of communication. And no matter what your disabilities, you can generally get access to text in some way. Now, a lot of these large language models are free, which is very good news for persons in developing countries, because otherwise you couldn't do much with them. And my effort, for example, is to try to help persons with severe disabilities type faster, that they type word by word rather than letter by letter, where the large language model tells you, okay, you've typed so much, the next word is likely to be one of these 25, and you can pick which that one is. But here is a problem with new technologies in general, whether it is large language models, whether it is eye gaze tracking, and all sorts of things. And that is that they have to be made to work for the individual, for the specific problem that the individual is trying to solve. Now, how would one go about addressing a situation where there are new technologies coming up all the time, many of which are very exciting and possibly have a lot of potential for persons with disabilities? What I have been arguing for a long time, and Dripendra has definitely heard this before, is that there should, just as you can with a medical condition walk into the All India Institute of Medical Sciences or any hospital and ask them to fix it, there should be similarly a facility for technology as well, so that if you are a disabled person, you should be able to go to a place such as an engineering college where students can take up those projects, where where the disabled person is made part of the project team and trained in, and the caregivers also, in how to repair the hardware if there is some hardware involved, and also to provide after sales support. And this could be a way for the disabled person to also maybe earn a living. Now, the model that I recommend when one is looking at something like this is what happens in the Paralympics. When we look at the teams in the Paralympics that come from the rich countries, there are dozens of people. There are occupational therapists, software, hardware, materials specialists, and so on, that create the perfect tool and environment for that person to achieve her maximum potential. Now, there is no reason, according to me, why such a facility cannot be provided to every single disabled person. So, if we have a person like our anchor who would like to be CEO, the technology should be provided to her so that it is she is not held up on account of disability in achieving her goals. So rather, I mean, there are a lot of very interesting questions, and I hope we can take a couple of minutes and take some questions from the audience. But my personal perspective is a very narrow one. Can I solve problems with this? And if so, how does one do that? Thank you. Do we have time for questions from the audience? A couple of questions, maybe?
Yeah, you can take a couple of questions if you like.
No, we don't? One question. Would you like to ask that question? Is there someone who would like to one question? Yeah, sir.
So this question is more pertaining to what Dipender has pointed out. So Dipender, you rightly pointed out, and as a product person, I am trying to understand this domain better. I've just joined like a couple of months, or I would say 1 month right now, and we are working at the ground at Youth for Jobs. I would like to listen to you and your more directional and theme wise, like which things we as people need to be more cautious about while building AI tools or utilizing the capabilities of AI tools, so that at the pace in which the AI is growing, can somewhat be we can catch up while building tools for PWDs. So if you can share your thoughts on that.
So in interest of time, I'll just do a very brief, and we can chat later on this issue.
Sure.
Of course, there are two basic things. One is the problem statement coming in collaboration or from persons with disabilities themselves. That's the first thing. At every stage, I mean, AI is going to help you to solve many problems faster than what we were able to do earlier. That's one given thing. But very important is to get the right problem to solve and getting validation of what solutions we are thinking about at every stage. So involvement of the user community in problem identification, and if possible, even in solution development, is the key for that. Thank you.
Thank you. I think we can leave.
If the audience has no other questions, I would like to thank the panelists for this eye-opener conversation on what AI can do and not do. And as far as what I got in one line was that technology is only as inclusive as the intent behind it.